Friends of mine were recently cleaning out a house of their own friend who had passed away. They found some old science fiction magazines, and they thought of me. So I have Amazing Stories magazines from June of 1962 all the way through to 1966. In the first video in this series, I looked at 1962 and 1963. Today we're going to look at 1964, 1965, and 1966. So sit back and relax and let's take a look at these vintage magazines. So I have 1964, 1965, and 1966. I have all issues except for April of 1966. So let's take a look. January of 1964. The magazine now is up to 50 cents. We have Edgar Rice Burroughs, Skeleton Men of Jupiter, Speed Up by Christopher Anvil. We'll take a look at the table of contents and then take a look at a little bit of the art inside as well. Skeleton Men of Jupiter. And the back cover, we have an image from inside the magazine. All drugs have been evil, but this newest one is the exception, the happiness rock. Something tells me perhaps it's not the exception. February 1964. John Brunner, Henry Slazar, we have a double-page spread of art for this story, The Bridge to Azrael. Beside the golden door, and our back cover image. There are machines to move that do move 500,000 people a day from world to world as expeditiously as postal packages, and with them 1,000,000 tons of freight like entries in a ledger. March 1964. Arena of Decisions. Jam for Christmas. Now is forever. The Time of Great Dying by Ben Bova. Many theories have been adduced for the disappearance of the dinosaurs from the Earth. Ben Bova deflates them, then puts forth one of his own that centers about a blade of grass. And the rear cover art is now gone. Time for ads. April 1964. Once again, Henry Slazar. And we also have a profile of E. E. Smith. He seems to have no head. When the Macs learned that you could kill a human by turning him off, they had to think of a new punishment, for they were programmed against killing, but they weren't programmed against the bubble. And that was, unfortunately, much worse than dying. A question of theology. The chair. First, man squatted on a chunk of rock. Then it grew legs, arms, a back, rockers, cushions, antimacassars. Not sure what antimacassars are. Footrests, headrests, vibrators. Read this story at your peril. You may never sit down again. May 1964. Boiling Point by Lester Del Rey. Planetary Engineering by Ben Bova. That might be the fact article for this one. Cordwainer Smith. For every action. Of course, referring to There is a Reaction by CC Mac App. I think that was in the days before there was a Mac, never mind apps. Out near the edge of the solar system, the spacesuit shot an arrow into the non-air, with repercussions as follows. According to His Abilities by Harry Harrison. And here's Cordwainer Smith's story, The Crime and the Glory of Commander Suzdal. Amazing Stories. June 1964. Tin Lizzie by Randall Garrett, and we have a profile of John Wyndham. July 1964. We also have Philip K. Dick, our game of Unchance. A Game of Unchance by Philip K. Dick. The odds were stacked against the fun star settlers any way you looked at it. So in the long run, you had to look at it two ways. A Game of Chance. August 1964. Once again, Robert F. Young. There's obviously a stable of writers for these magazines. The Earthling Room. Ursula K. Le Guin. Here's the Ursula K. Le Guin story. Unhappy marriages? They'll become a thing of the past when unemotional computers scientifically choose mates for our young. Observe, for instance, this example of sociometric selection. September 1964. Once again, Ursula K. Le Guin. A bit of a scary image. A tale of horror, of an act of horror that could be avenged only by an act of greater horror. A story not for weaklings. The Sheeted Dead by Robert Rohr. The Dowry of Angyar. October 1964. John Brunner. It's a novel, so I'm sure that's going to go over a few issues. Profile of Jack Williamson. Enigma from Tantalus. It was not surprising, really, when the Tantalus masqueraded itself aboard the Earth-bound spaceship. After all, for the 40 years that Terran scientists had been studying it, the Tantalus had quietly been doing the same thing in reverse. Ah. In the Shadow of the Worm by Neil Barrett Jr. November 1964. Norman Spinrad. And Robert Silverberg is writing in the fact column. Your name shall be Darkness by Norman Spinrad. Enigma from Tantalus, the conclusion of John Brunner's story. And finally, from 1964, December, we have a profile of Philip Jose Farmer and Keith Laumer short novel. That was 1964. Now, January 1965. Roger Zelazny, Jack Sharkey, another one by Norman Spinrad, Blue Boy. The fight game is full of double crosses, but it's pretty hard to double cross a Plutonian who is just about to become the champion of the world. February 1965. I have a Fritz Zeiber story. Conclusion of He Who Shapes by Roger Zelazny. March 1965. Frank Herbert, Green Slaves. April 1965. Profile of C.S. Lewis. Science Fiction Views of God. I'm not sure, but it seems like there's less artwork in these magazines as we go on through the years. May 1965. Poul Anderson, Corridors of Time. Clifford D. Simic. June 1965. Don't think I'd want to come across that robot. It does look like there's less art in these magazines. In fact, just going through, I don't think I saw one. Wow. This is when they went to double issues now, so it's 2 months in a row. Big, more pages, more stories. August of 1965. We have one by Isaac Asimov, A Weapon Too Dreadful to Use. That may be the fact article. Final Victim by Ray Bradbury and Henry Huss. Oh, it is a story by Isaac Asimov. Do you laugh your greatest powers away? Pew pew. So now we skip to October 1965. We have Ray Bradbury, John Wyndham, Jack Williamson, and Murray Leinster's new novel Killer Ship. The Eternal Eye by John Wyndham. Ray Bradbury, Chrysalis. The Time Jumpers. The Eternal Eve by John Wyndham. And December 1965. Cordwainer Smith's new novelette, On the Sand Planet. So that's 1965. And now 1966. 2 months after December, we are in February 1966. Arthur C. Clarke at his best with Sunjammer. Moss Island by Carl Jacobi. The Malignant Entity by Otis Adalbert Klein. The Runaway Skyscraper by Murray Leinster. I don't have April, but I do have June of 1966. Arthur C. Clarke, Henry Kuttner, Walter M. Miller Jr., Secret of the Death Dome by Walter M. Miller Jr. August 1966. Philip K. Dix, Your Appointment Will Be Yesterday. Frank Herbert, John W. Campbell Jr., October 1966. Wonder if this will be a reprint or a new story by Walter M. Miller Jr. It's on page 70. Let's take a look. The Space Witch. And the last one from 1966, December, we have John Brunner's great new novel, Born Under Mars. Philip K. Dick is in here as well. The Commuter. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed that look at some vintage magazines. Amazing Stories has been published since 1926. Hugo Gernsback was the editor. The Hugo Awards are named after him. Until next time, keep reading.